I still remember the light from the strip mall sign sliding over the dashboard like slow waves, the smell of sweet cream and waffle cones filling the car, and the way I decided, right in that small moment, to make everything bigger than it needed to be. That's the part one can't forgive in myself, even more than the crash. The way I aimed for drama instead of peace, like it was a prize I could win. It started simple. We'd had a flat, ordinary Saturday, laundry, a grocery run, folding towels while a true crime show murmured in the background. Owen liked those slow, regular days. I pretended to like them too. But by evening I felt itchy in my skin, craving a spark. I scrolled through stories of people out downtown, music thumping through phone speakers, and it made our living room feel small. I said we should get ice cream and a drive. Owen smiled right away, like he always did when the plan cost less than $10 and didn't involve crowds. That smile used to make me feel safe, lately it made me feel like nothing ever changed. I hate admitting that, but it's true. We drove to the place with the neon cow and the long line, and while we waited I scrolled more, pausing too long on a video of some guy recording his girlfriend dancing on the hood of his car. The comments were all hearts and fire emojis. I didn't want to dance on a car, I wanted that feeling of being the main event. That's what I brought back to our car along with my cone. This need to be the loudest thing in the room, even if the room was the passenger seat at 10:27 p.m. Owen asked how my day had been, eyes kind, and I shrugged and said fine, then added, you know what's not fine? You never post me. He blinked, caught off guard. Post you, he said, like it was a phrase from another language. I waved my phone. You never hype me up. Not a single story tonight. We're out. We look cute. You could, I don't know, show you're proud. He laughed softly, not unkind. I'm driving. And it's ice cream. That should have been the end. The car hummed along the back road toward the river, warm air through the cracked window, vanilla melting over my thumb. I could have let it be light, but instead I poked at the bruise I'd just made. You always say that, I pushed. It's just ice cream, it's just a movie, it's just a quiet night. Everything is just with you. He didn't say anything for a beat, then, careful, I like our nights. I like you. I don't think I need an audience for that. And there it was. The calm answer that never gave me the explosion I was hunting. Calm used to soothe me. Lately it felt like a dare I kept losing. I angled my phone and tried to film a cute boomerang of us clinking cones. He kept his eyes on the road and tapped the bottom of my cone so it wouldn't drip on my jeans. The tenderness of it. How he always thought 2 steps ahead for me. Made me feel guilty for the fight I was building, and the guilt made me mean. Say something, I pushed. Say night with my girl or, I don't know, make it sound like you actually want to be here. I am here, he said, and I heard the line like a door closing, even though he didn't mean it that way. We passed a group of kids by the gas station, music thudding, a girl on a guy's shoulders, all of them laughing. I watched the girl toss her head back and imagined our night stretched open like that, noisy and charged. Let's drive to the overlook, I said. The one near the water tower. Owen grimaced. That road is rough in the dark. Deer pop out. We can go next weekend during the day. I sighed, loud and theatrical. Right. Because heaven forbid we do one thing that isn't safe. He went quiet again. I knew that quiet. It wasn't him shutting down, it was him counting to 10 so he wouldn't snap back. I don't know why, but his restraint always made me push harder. I picked at him about everything then. The way he always left his throw blanket folded just so, the way he planned his week in a notes app, the way he didn't post me. I said the one thing I knew would land like a hook. Sometimes I feel like you're 100 years old. We came up on a light where a 2-lane road met a 4-lane. The cross traffic had the green. A pickup roared by, bed rattling. Owen's fingers tightened at 10 and 2, and he said, even, you know that's not fair. I scoffed. What's not fair is you acting like I'm wrong for wanting a little life. The light turned green for us. Owen eased into the intersection. I lifted my phone again, framing my own face so my eyes looked greener, my lashes longer. Just say, out with my girl, I insisted. Make it cute. Anna, he said. Gentle but firm, the way he said my name when I was about to miss a step and he didn't want me to fall. That tone used to pull me back. Tonight it felt like a leash. I don't know what possessed me after that. Maybe I wanted to make a point about how easy everything could be if he'd just give me one thing. Maybe I wanted a reaction. Maybe I was a brat with a melting cone. I leaned across the console, held the phone towards his face, and when he ducked away, I laughed, and I tapped the side of his cheek with the cold scoop. It was stupid, a flirty, careless smack of sugar against skin. His flinch was small but real. His right eye blinked hard. His hand jerked on the wheel. Only a touch, but enough. The car drifted a foot right. A horn split the night. There was a flash of chrome. An old sedan nosing from the shoulder. And Owen yanked us left to avoid it. My cone broke at the base and splattered across the dash. Tires shrieked. We fishtailed, clipped the curb, skidded sideways, then slammed into the guardrail hard enough that my teeth clacked. The sound of metal crying out echoed in my bones. Everything went bright white, then weirdly quiet, like the world stepped just out of the room and closed the door. My chest burned where the belt had caught me. I smelled hot rubber, sugar, something sharp like pennies. Owen's arm shot across me. The instinctive move he always made when he braked hard. And stayed there, a shield. Are you okay? He said, voice low and urgent. I blinked at him, disoriented. I think so. My knees trembled, my fingers slick with vanilla. He scanned my face, then my neck, then my knees, checking for blood like a medic. Don't move fast, he said. Just breathe. He unbuckled, stepped out into the night, and walked around the front where the hood had crumpled like a soda can. I watched him in the wash of the hazard lights, shoulders squaring, jaw tight, but steady. He waved his arms, making sure oncoming cars saw us. The sedan we'd swerved around rolled slowly to a stop ahead of us. A man got out to pale, hands up in a what-the-hell gesture. You good, he called. We're okay, Owen called back. My fault. I swerved late. He said it just like that. My fault. He didn't hesitate. He didn't look at me. He claimed it. A couple in a small SUV pulled over. The woman offered me napkins and a bottle of water. You're shaking, she said softly. I pressed the napkins to my hands, which didn't seem to understand how to be still. Owen was already on the phone with 911, giving precise cross streets, describing damage, saying again, no injuries that we can see. When the officer arrived, lights painting the trees red and blue, I felt the story crawl into my throat, sour and ugly. I imagined saying, it was me. I pushed a phone in his face. I hit him with ice cream like a child. I saw the look on the officer's face. I saw the ticket. I saw my insurance hiked, the lecture, the word reckless stamped on my forehead. The fear in me curled into the shape of a lie. Before I could use it, Owen stepped forward. I dropped my cone, he said calmly. It hit my hand. I overcorrected. No other cars hit. Just the rail. The officer nodded, took notes, asked if either of us had been drinking. We hadn't. He issued a citation to Owen for failure to maintain lane. The tow truck hauled our car away by its wounded nose. The sedan driver, satisfied that we weren't going to make a mess out of him, left. The couple in the SUV gave me one last kind look and drove off. The road got quiet again, like it had earlier, only now my stomach was a hard stone. Owen thanked the officer, signed where he needed to, then walked back to me and reached for my elbow. Let's call a ride, he said gently. Phone's dead. He handed me his. Use mine. I don't know why I did what I did next. I think I wanted to claw back some control from the fear chewing through me. Or maybe I wanted to hurt him for not broadcasting my life the way I wanted, even though he'd just protected me from a ticket and worse. On the shoulder under the humming streetlight, I said, small and sharp, if you had just made a fun video like I asked, none of this would have happened. He went very still. The air between us cooled by 10 degrees. He took his phone back from my hand without touching me. He stared down the empty road as if it was giving him directions. Then he held the phone out again. "Call a ride," he said. The ride app showed a car 15 minutes away. I told him the estimate. He nodded. "I'll wait." We stood there a long minute, not talking, our breath turning into little gray ghosts. Finally he spoke, voice calm in a way that made my skin prickle. "A year ago, you would have cried and said you were scared. You would have thanked me. Tonight you blamed me." I started to say I was scared, that my knees were jelly and my heart was a drum and the world had tilted. The apology rose and caught, then turned into the wrong shape in my mouth. "You could meet me halfway," I muttered, which wasn't what I meant at all. Owen exhaled like a man putting down something heavy he'd been carrying for too long. Headlights swept across us. The ride, finally, or someone else passing through. And in that moving light, I saw his face plain. It wasn't angry. It was done. He stepped toward the curb and flagged down the car we both assumed was mine. But it drove on. Another minute ticked past. The road emptied again. Owen lifted the keys from his pocket. The spare set to the apartment, the one on the little leather fob I'd bought him. And set them on top of the guardrail. The metal made a small sound, disappointed. He put his hands in his pockets, looked at the darkness beyond the trees, then back at me. I waited for a speech. "I know you think I'm boring. I know you want an audience. I know I take the easy road." That's what I expected. A thesis, bullet points, a gentle ending. Owen doesn't do messy exits. He does lists and plans and clean edges. He did none of that. He just nodded once, the way he does when he finishes a project and knows the measurements are right, and he turned and walked away down the shoulder into the wash of the next streetlight and then the next, until the dark took him. He didn't look back. He didn't say my name. He didn't say anything at all. The ride finally came and I slid into the back seat, cold to the bone. The driver asked if I was okay. I said yes, because the alternative was telling a stranger that I had taken a small night and starved it for attention until it turned into a thing with flashing lights. At home, the apartment felt like a picture after the people have stepped out. I washed the sticky sugar from the dash imprint off my hands. Vanilla rose up from my skin like a ghost of the girl who had started the fight over a phone story. Owen didn't come home that night. He didn't come home the next day either. A text arrived, short and surgical, "I'll send for my things. Leave them in the hall closet. Please don't call." I called anyway. He didn't answer. I wrote an apology that tried too hard, explaining fear in posting and how I felt invisible. He didn't write back. He Venmo'd me half the tow and half the ticket, even though both were in his name, with a note that said my share, like kindness stamped on a receipt. In the weeks that followed, the damage spread in quiet ways. Insurance went up. The car shop called to say the frame was bent. At work, I told the story the way people tell stories that make them sound a little better: we, us, hydroplane, slick patch. But at night, the real story marched around my room like a parade I'd thrown for the wrong reasons. My friends tried to make me feel better at first. "He'll cool off," they said. "You're dramatic, but you're not mean." I wanted to believe that. Then one friend, the honest one, said, "You treated him like a prop in your life." He isn't one. She wasn't saying it to hurt me. She was holding up a mirror and steadying it until I stopped flinching. Owen didn't scorch me online. He didn't tell the story at all. He simply stepped into a life that didn't include me. He found a new apartment closer to work. A mutual friend said he'd started running on Saturday mornings. "He looks lighter," she said, apologetic, like the word itself might bruise me. I walked by our ice cream shop one warm evening and stood across the street, remembering the way the neon cow flickered and how, for $10 and a night drive, I could have chosen softness. I went in, bought a cone, and stood under the same streetlight where he had set down the keys and his patience. The cone melted over my thumb again. I let it drip. I didn't take a video. I took the bus home. Here's the part where I tell you I learned a lesson and became the kind of person who doesn't pick fights with good men in moving cars. I am trying. That's the truest sentence I have. I go to therapy on Wednesdays now and talk about why quiet makes me feel unseen, why I think louder equals safer, why a man's calm steadiness felt like an insult when it was actually a gift. The therapist asked me to list times Owen chose me in ways that weren't theatrical. I wrote, kept soup warm without asking when I worked late, fixed the button on my winter coat before the first snow, put the good towel on the rack when I had a bad day, stood on the shoulder at 10:41 p.m. and took a ticket that belonged to me. I read the list out loud and had to sit with the sound of my own voice saying that last one. It was not a grand gesture for a crowd. It was a quiet kind of protection, and I spent it like a child spends $1, then threw the receipt at him for not making a show of paying. I don't know where he goes on Saturday nights now. Maybe nowhere. Maybe to the same small grocery store, where he buys the bread he likes and checks the eggs before he puts them in the cart. Maybe he's with someone who doesn't need to be posted to feel real. Maybe he's alone and okay with it. Here is what I do know, he didn't punish me when he left me on that road. People love to make the story big. He abandoned you. But that night wasn't about cruelty. It was about a line he carried inside him that I stepped over again and again until he finally understood I was going to keep stepping. He didn't slam a door. He didn't give a speech. He just placed the keys to our life on a strip of cold metal and walked toward a quieter one. I have told this story enough times now that I can say it plainly, I caused the crash. Not with the wheel, not with the brake, but with the way I turned a small want into a test he never signed up to take. He won't answer my texts because he doesn't have to live in my noise anymore. He chose the kind of life he wanted, and I wasn't in it, not because I wasn't pretty enough or fun enough, but because I was unkind in all the small ways that matter. You can love a person and still be careless with them. Carelessness at 60 miles an hour just shows faster. If I ever get the chance to say one last thing to him, it won't be a speech about how scared I was, or how I felt invisible, or how I didn't mean it. It will be this: thank you for taking the blame when I deserved it, and thank you for leaving when I refused to own that truth. Sometimes the mercy is not the man who stays. Sometimes the mercy is the man who walks into the dark without a word, and by his leaving, shows you the person you were, so you can choose to never be her again.